This is Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestant. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trevette.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. For this game, the categories are as follows. How about them Tigers? Waterworks. TV MDs. Quotable Notables. From the Latin. And IHOP. All right, let's get back into this. Player one has control of the board. This tiger is the great spokescat for Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. It's player one. That's right. Way to go.
Yeah! Woo!
You get to pick again, player one. Let's take it over to Jimmy.
The South China tiger has these features spaced farther apart than other species do. On each individual tiger, they're unique, like fingerprints.
Player one. You got it. Player one, choose again. Tiger is the second rank in this organization for young boys. It's player one. Good. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Tigers are the largest cats, and the tiger named for this Russian region is the largest tiger. Here's the correct response. Siberia. We return to you, player one. The largest population of wild tigers is found in this Asian country on about 30 wildlife reserves. Player one? No, sorry. Here's what we were looking for. India. Player one, choose again. A waterfall provides only temporary safety from the Hurons for Alice and Cora in this Fenimore Cooper novel. We're talking about The Last of the Mohicans. Select again. An old man recalls his time with the Benzini Brothers Circus in Water for These Large Beasts. Here's what we were looking for. Elephants. You again, player one. Conrad's Heart of Darkness was inspired by his voyage up this African river. Let's hear it, player one. We're talking about Congo. Player one, pick again. This final Joyce novel's ending leads back to its beginning. River Run past Eve and Adams. Here's the response we were looking for. Finnegan's Wake. You again, player one. This author's The Open Boat is based on his experience surviving an 1897 shipwreck. We're talking about Stephen Crane. You again, player one. J.D., Turk, and Dr. Cox have practiced on this series. Here's the response we were looking for. Scrubs. You get to pick again, player one. Maria Bello and Sherry Stringfield are among the many who doctored up this long-running NBC show. Player one? Sorry, that's wrong. Here's the correct response. ER. You get to pick again, player one. Doctors Lisa Cuddy and Allison Cameron have roamed Princeton Plainsboro Hospital with this acerbic title doc. Here's the correct response. House. You get to pick again, player one. Dr. Kavanaugh, the first name would give things away, was a Boston M.E. with a checkered past on this drama. Here's the correct response. Crossing Jordan. Select again. We dig forensic anthropologist Dr. Temperance Brennan on this Fox drama. Here's what we were looking for. Bones. You again, player one. The world will note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, a military base. It's player one. Right. You get to pick again, player one. Traitors are not gentlemen, my good friends. They don't understand being treated like gentlemen. Yes, player one? That's it. You get to pick again, player one. 1976 will not be a year of politics as usual. Here's what we wanted. Jimmy Carter. Player one, back to you for our next selection. I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president. Here's what we wanted. Lyndon Johnson. Player one, pick again. It's the Daily Double. And you have the lead, player one. Give us a wager and the clue. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence. Sorry, that's wrong. Here's the response we were looking for. Robert Kennedy. We return to you, player one. This type of sphere with a map of the Earth depicted on it has a name from the Latin for sphere. It's player one. Yeah! Player one, back to you. This kind of book is quite handy. Its name comes from the Latin for hand. Okay, player one. We're talking about a manual. Player one, back to you for our next selection. And I'll hand it off to Kelly.
A non-structural embellishment at the end of a calligraphic letter is called one of these, from the Latin for flower.
We're talking about flourish. Player one, back to you for our next selection. The name of this fin on a shark's back comes from the Latin for back. Let's hear it, player one. Right you are. Great, you're back into it now. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Texas A&M's Coastal Engineering Lab studies the coastal type of this, from the Latin for to gnaw. Here's what we were looking for. Erosion. Player one, back to you. The red type of this marsupial can leap over barriers as high as 6 feet. Let's hear it, player one. Right. We return to you, player one. This class of animals includes frogs and toads. Okay, player one. You got it. You get to pick again, player one. The hare named for this country between France and the Netherlands is actually a rabbit. The correct response is Belgium. You get to pick again, player one. A grasshopper shares the billing with one of these insects in the title of an Aesop fable. Let's hear it, player one. You are correct. And the last clue for $1,000. This tiny insect pest, Pulex irritans, can leap more than 130 times its own height. Yes, player one? Right. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. And we have 2 daily doubles awaiting you in these categories. The scintillating 1700s. Compound words. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. Quoth the raven. Notice the spelling. Astronomy. And A in geography. Let's get back into this now. You have control of the board. The future King George II lost his marbles over Henrietta Howard and gave her Marble Hill house on this river. We're talking about the Thames. You again, player 1. This ancient city is the capital of Greece. Let's hear it, player 1. Right. You get to pick again, player 1. A famous one of these, Marie Camargo, is remembered for shortening her skirts to calf length. Here's the correct response. A ballerina. Select again. Here's Jimmy. He'll show you.
It's the name of the island seen here, mate.
It's player 1.
Yeah!
Right. Select again. In 1752, suave seducer Sergei Saltykov spiced up the life of this future empress. Here's what we wanted. Catherine the Great. Select again. Mont Blanc is the highest peak in these mountains. The correct response is the Alps. You get to pick again, player 1. Born into a family of actors, he was expelled from a seminary, big surprise, before finding fame as a lusty libertine. Here's the response we were looking for. Giovanni Casanova. Player 1, you pick again, please. Kabul is its capital. We're talking about Afghanistan. Player 1, choose again. Jimmy will present this clue.
An engraving of this 18th century French monarch, America's most powerful ally during the Revolution, hangs at Mount Vernon.
Yes, player 1? That's correct. Please pick again, player 1. Known to the Romans as Numidia, it borders the Mediterranean. Here's the response we were looking for. Algeria. Please pick again, player 1. This aromatic herb of the genus Nepeta will drive your feline crazy. Okay, player 1.
Yeah!
Player 1, back to you for our next selection. With the demotion of Pluto, it's now the smallest, least massive planet. Yes, player 1?
Yeah!
Right you are. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. Swallowtail, viceroy, and monarch are types of this insect. It's player 1. Yes.
Yeah! Woo!
Player 1, back to you for our next selection. To northern observers, the most brilliant part of the Milky Way is found in the Archer, this constellation. Here's the correct response. Sagittarius. Player 1, you pick again, please. If you've gone this, you might have said something extreme or fallen from the Queen Mary. We're talking about overboard. Player 1, pick again. Answer. The first of the 2 daily doubles. You are currently in the lead. Decide on your wager, player 1. Answer this. From the Latin for kernel, this solid center of a comet consists of ice and dust particles. Yeah, good. Please pick again, player 1. Looking for a needle in one of these is a metaphor for an impossible search. Yes, player 1? Yes. Player 1, choose again. This critique of pure reason author called some fuzzy objects island universes in 1775. He was right. Here's the correct response. Immanuel Kant. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. In days of yore, women sometimes rode in this style, meaning both feet on the same flank of the horse. The correct response is side saddle. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. The constellation Coma Berenices, or Berenice's Hare, was given its exact form by this Dane in the 1500s. Here's what we wanted. Tycho Brahe. Player 1, choose again. Associated with unicorns, the Qilin of this large country's pantheon visits when philosophers are born. Here's what we wanted. China. Player 1, pick again. This character has gone psycho long before he says, "She might have fooled me, but she didn't fool my mother." The correct response is Norman Bates. Player 1, back to you. Aye, aye, Odysseus, you want to blind Polyphemus, one of these. We, your captive crew, totally have your back. Player 1? That is correct.
Yeah! Woo!
You get to pick again, Player 1. Kathleen Quinlan finds comfort talking to shrink Bibi Anderson in I Never Promised You a This. Here's what we wanted. Rose Garden. Player 1, back to you. Shadowfax, a horse of Rohan, was untamed until approached by this wizard. Here's the response we were looking for. Gandalf. Player 1, pick again. As John Nash in this movie, Russell Crowe does quite a bit of talking to people who don't exist. Here's the response we were looking for. A Beautiful Mind. Player 1, choose again. Bully for Theseus, who killed this bad two-legged monster that ate sacrifices in a Cretan maze. Here's what we wanted. The Minotaur. Player 1, you pick again, please. Answer. The other Daily Double. You are in first place. Player 1, please select your wager. Here is your Daily Double clue. This Johnny Depp character tells his psychiatrist, "You are a great lover like myself." Sorry, that's wrong. Here's the correct response. Don Juan de Marco. Player 1, pick again. Chiron, one of these four-legged mythical creatures, was good. He taught Jason and Achilles. Okay, Player 1. Yes. And the $2,000 clue? In Quills, this author muses, "My glorious prose filtered through the minds of the insane. They might improve it." Here's the response we were looking for. Marquis de Sade. You are moving on to Final Jeopardy, which will continue after these messages. We've got the Final Jeopardy round here for you, and today it features this category. Midwest Topography. Please enter your wager. And the clue reads, this state has the largest sand dunes complex in the United States, just north of a river named for its flatness. Did you come up with the correct response? And that will cost you. Here's the response we were looking for. Nebraska. This makes you our new champion, Player 1, so congratulations. Thanks for playing, everybody. See you next time.
This is Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestant. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Brevet.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. For this game, the categories are as follows. I only have eyes for you. Trading places. Literary pets. Turn, turn, turn. Celebrity AKA. And our founding fathers. A lot of clues, a lot of categories. Player one, make a selection. Heterohelix is the English variety of this climbing plant. Yes, player one? That is correct. Player one, pick again. Here's Kelly.
In monozygotic, or this type of twins, the genetic makeup of each twin is exactly the same.
It's player one. Correct. Player one, choose again. Roger that, Houston. The rocket engines have reached this point of firing to life. It's player one.
Yeah!
Yep. Select again. It's a list of places to be visited on a journey. Yes, player one?
Yeah!
Right you are. Player one, you pick again, please. The male of this wild goat of the Alps has backward curving horns that may be as long as it is tall. Okay, player one? Right you are. We return to you, player one. And here's Jimmy.
Near two major rivers, this Missouri city was founded as a fur trading post by Pierre Leclerc in 1763.
Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. Please pick again, player one. Frankfurt's Rossmarkt was a site for this type of animal trading, also a term for hard bargaining. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah!
Good. Player one, choose again. Located on this continent, the Kanem-Bornu Empire lasted 1,000 years by being a center of trade. Yes, player one? That is correct. We return to you, player one. This city's Grand Bazaar was built in 1461 by Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror. Yes, player one? Good.
Yeah! Woo!
You again, player one. From its founding in 1898 until 1919, this exchange was known as the Chicago Butter and Egg Board. Player one? Yep.
Yeah! Woo!
You get to pick again, player one. The titled beast of his The Hound of the Baskervilles is actually the pet of Mr. Jack Stapleton. Player one? Right you are. We return to you, player one. Harry Potter uses his snowy owl named this to transfer messages. Okay, player one. Correct. Player one, you pick again, please. Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings' The Yearling centers on this type of pet. Yes, player one? Correct. Select again. Answer? The Daily Double. You are in first place. What'll it be? Answer? Little Swan, Little Bear, and Greenfinch are some of the goats of this Johanna Spiri lass. You are correct. Player one, back to you. A poetic Eliot feline who has lived many lives in succession is named for this fifth book of the Old Testament. Yes, player one? Right. Select again. Like a loon's, a tern's feet have this feature, yet terns are not notable swimmers. It's player one. Good for you. We return to you, player one. The sooty tern is about 16 inches long, with a white forehead, and is otherwise this color above and white below. Yes, player one? Yes. Player one, choose again. This geographic tern's 20,000-mile trip gives it the longest migration of any bird. Let's hear it, player one. Right. Player one, back to you. Terns eat insects, small fish, and this type of arthropod whose name comes from the Latin for hard-shelled ones. It's player one.
Yeah!
Select again. Named for the sea between Southeast Europe and Asia, this 21-inch long bird is one of the largest kinds of tern. Player one?
Yeah!
We return to you, player one. Destiny Hope Cyrus, Billy Ray's kid and star of TV's Hannah Montana, now goes by this first name. Okay, player one. That's correct. Please pick again, player one. It's the real last name of Nicolas Cage and of his famous uncle. Let's hear it, player one. Right. Please pick again, player one. When she's got mail, we wonder if it's addressed to Margaret Hyra. Player one? Yes. You again, player one. Yes, sir. His real name is Reginald Dwight. Okay, player one. That's it.
Yeah! Woo!
Player one, back to you for our next selection. The movie's original Alfie. He was originally named Maurice Micklewhite. Yes, player one? Yes.
Yeah! Woo!
Please pick again, player one. Kelly will present this clue.
The southwest wall of the Thomas Jefferson Memorial displays an excerpt from this document, of which Jefferson was the primary author.
Yes, player one? Right. You get to pick again, player one. At age 15, he was a bell ringer at the Old North Church. 25 years later, he told the church sexton to light 2 lanterns. Okay, player one. Good. Player one. Pick again. He served jointly with William Hunter as Postmaster General of the Colonies from 1753 to 1761. Let's hear it, player one. Correct. Player one, back to you. On April 24th, 1778, this naval hero captured the Drake, the first British ship defeated in war by an American ship. Okay, player one. You got it. Here's the $1,000 clue for you. Before he was on the $10 bill, this first Treasury Secretary was one of the 39 signers of the Constitution. Yes, player one? Good. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. Clues are worth $400 to $2,000 in these categories. Science abbreviations. Crescent City Rolls. All things operatic. October 1st. The Arctic Ocean. And Proverbs. All right, if you're ready, it's Double Jeopardy time. In The Buccaneer, Yul Brynner played this pirate who aided Andrew Jackson in the Battle of New Orleans. Okay, player one. Correct. We return to you, player one. In a 1953 comedy, Abbott and Costello try to go to this planet, but end up at Mardi Gras instead. Let's hear it, player one. That is correct. Player one, back to you. Critic Michael Kleinschrott said of this star in The Big Easy, the very worst example of a New Orleans accent. Player one? That is correct. Select again. In this movie, Bette Davis plays a Southern belle who loses Henry Fonda when she wears a red dress to a ball. It's player one. That's correct. Player one, back to you. Answer. The first of the 2 daily doubles. And you're in the lead now. How much? Here is your clue. New Orleans set, The Cincinnati Kid, with him in the title role, is one of the great poker movies of all time. Sorry. That's wrong. Here's what we wanted. Steve McQueen. Player one, back to you. There's a phase of sleep abbreviated NREM, which stands for No This Eye Movement. Let's hear it, player one. Good. Player one, pick again. In computer science, GUI is this kind of user interface. Let's hear it, player one. Right. You get to pick again, player one. As opposed to an MD, a DO is a doctor of this holistic practice. Let's hear it, player one. Yes. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. The T in TSH stands for this gland. The SH is for stimulating hormone. Let's hear it, Player 1.
Yeah!
Good for you. Player 1, back to you. The lowercase r in rRNA stands for this adjective. Player 1. Hey, you're right. Player 1, back to you. Kelly?
The final act of this Bizet opera takes place outside a bull ring, similar to this one, where the heroine is stabbed to death.
Yes, Player 1? Yes. Player 1, you pick again, please. In 1939, she made her operatic debut in Cavalleria Rusticana in Athens at the age of 15. Player 1? That's correct. You again, Player 1. This Barnaby Rudge author wrote the libretto for John Hulla's The Village Coquettes. Yes, Player 1? That's correct. Player 1, back to you. The three basic vocal classifications for women opera singers are soprano, mezzo-soprano, and this lowest range. Okay, Player 1. Good. Player 1, back to you. Italian opera of the early 1700s developed into two basic types, opera seria, or serious opera, and this, comic opera. Player 1? Good.
Yeah! Woo!
Please pick again, Player 1. 1971. This complex opens near Orlando, Florida. It's Player 1. Hey, you're right.
Yeah! Woo!
Please pick again, Player 1. 1800. Spain cedes this large territory to France. Player 1? Correct. We return to you, Player 1. 1961. This man hits his 61st homer of the season. Okay, Player 1. Correct. You get to pick again, Player 1. 1880. John Philip Sousa becomes the leader of this military branch's band. It's Player 1. Correct. Player 1. Pick again. 1970. 5 million people turn out in Cairo for his funeral. Okay, Player 1. Good. Please pick again, Player 1. The shortest way to sail to the Arctic Ocean from Nome, Alaska, is to go north through the strait named for him. Okay, Player 1. Right. You again, Player 1. The spiral tusk of this cetacean that inhabits the waters of the Arctic Ocean may reach a length of 10 feet. Player 1. Yep. You again, Player 1. In the early 1770s, England's Samuel Hearne became the first European to reach the Arctic Ocean overland from this bay. Yes, player one?
Woo!
Yes. Player one, you pick again, please. The Arctic Ocean's deepest point, about 17,880 feet, lies just north of this country's Svalbard Islands. Player one? Yes. Player one, back to you. On August 3, 1958, this nuclear-powered submarine became the first to cross the North Pole under the ice. Let's hear it, player one. Right. Player one, back to you for our next selection. It seldom knocks twice. Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. Player one, you pick again, please. Close only counts in this backyard game. Okay, player one.
Yeah!
That's it. You again, player one. There is honor, even among these. Player one. Yes. Player one, choose again. Marry in haste and do this at leisure. Yes, player one. Good for you. And the $2,000 clue? Answer. The second daily double. You are in the lead right now. What'll it be? Here is your clue. Alexander Pope wrote, "Hope springs eternal in the human this." That's right. Way to go. Good game. You will participate in Final Jeopardy right after this. Time to get ready for Final Jeopardy. And today the category is this: Islands. Please enter your wager. And the last clue? In 2003, Emily Rose Christian became the first baby born on this island in 17 years, bringing the population to nearly 50. Your response? And this correct response will add how much to your score? This makes you our new champion, player one. So congratulations. Good game. Thank you so much for playing.
This is Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestant. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trevette.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. For this game, the categories are as follows: banned books, short lines, state borders, science grab bag, LA story, and foreign words and phrases. Player 1, start us. This story was banned in California because the heroine was bringing wine as well as food to her grandma. Let's hear it, Player 1. You are correct. Player 1, pick again. In 1929, Italy banned his Call of the Wild, and Yugoslavia banned all of his books as being too radical. Here's what we were looking for: Jack London. You again, Player 1. Predictably, in 1967, Lysistrata by Aristophanes was banned in this country, then controlled by a military junta. Here's the correct response: Greece. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. England indicted this supporter of the Revolutionary War for his rights of man. His publisher was prosecuted. Player 1? That is correct. Please pick again, Player 1. Viola's cross-dressing in this Shakespeare play ran afoul of a New Hampshire prohibition of Alternative Lifestyle Act. Here's the correct response: Twelfth Night. Player 1, you pick again, please. Dustin Hoffman flick in which you'd hear, "That is one nutty hospital." The correct response is Tootsie. You get to pick again, Player 1. Wallace Shawn uses this word several times in The Princess Bride. Mandy Patinkin questions its usage. Here's the response we were looking for:
Inconceivable!
We return to you, Player 1. In this 1957 war movie, Colonel Saito tells his captives, "Be happy in your work." Here's what we were looking for: Bridge on the River Kwai. You get to pick again, Player 1. This character says, "I stick my neck out for nobody," before and after Ugarte's arrest. Here's what we wanted: Rick Blaine. Player 1, back to you. When Demi Moore says, "I love you" in this 1990 supernatural thriller, Patrick Swayze's reply is, "Ditto." We're talking about Ghost. Player 1, choose again. Of the Four Corners states, this is the southwestern one. The correct response is Arizona. Player 1, you pick again, please. You probably know what's on North Dakota's southern border. On its western border is this state. Here's what we wanted: Montana. You get to pick again, Player 1. You'll find this state on Kansas's northern border. It's Player 1. Right you are. Please pick again, Player 1. Delaware's southern border is with this state. Here's what we were looking for: Maryland. Player 1, you pick again, please. It's the number of states that border the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the response we were looking for: 5. Player 1, back to you. These cells from human embryos can grow into any type of tissue and may someday cure diabetes and Alzheimer's. Here's the response we were looking for: stem cells. Player 1, you pick again, please. Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus are called this type of planet after a Roman god. Let's hear it, Player 1. No, that's not right. We're talking about Jovian. Player 1, back to you. A material called URHGE can be manipulated into being a resistance-free super this. It's player one. That's it. Select again. We're not faking. Alphabetically, it's last among the elements on the periodic table. Here's the response we were looking for. Zirconium. Player one, choose again. All right, here with the clue is Kelly.
The two main kinds of lens are diverging and this type, that bends rays of light inward so they meet at the focal point.
Let's hear it, player one. Hey, you're right.
Yeah! Woo!
Player one, back to you for our next selection. Sam the Eagle was created by the Disney Company for this event held in Los Angeles in 1984. Here's the correct response. The Olympics. Player one, you pick again, please. Microphones, TV sets, masks, phonographs, and movie cameras symbolize stars' specialties on its Walk of Fame. Yes, player one? Nope. Here's the response we were looking for. Hollywood Boulevard. Player one, you pick again, please. Answer, the Daily Double. You are in the lead right now. How much are you going to wager, player one? Okay, here is the clue. This school is the oldest private university in California and the largest private employer in Los Angeles. Nope. Sorry. Here's the correct response. USC. Player one, back to you. An observatory and a park in Los Angeles are named not for a birth of a nation director, but rather a colonel with this surname. Here's the response we were looking for. Griffith. You get to pick again, player one. Docents at LA's Page Museum are in a sticky situation. La Brea means this substance in Spanish. Yes, player one? Right. Select again. Let's go over to Jimmy.
Locomotives with a 282 wheel configuration are called this type, an old name for the Emperor of Japan.
Player one? Nope. Here's what we were looking for. Mikado. Please pick again, player one. Seize the day, I tell you, but do it with this Latin phrase. Here's what we were looking for. Carpe diem. Select again. Italian for to the tooth. It's how to order your pasta if you want it a little firm. Here's the correct response. Al dente. Select again. In many places of business, no zapatos, no service. Zapatos being Spanish for these. Player one? Yes. And we'll wrap up the board with this clue. Before a trip, it's proper to wish someone bon this, whether they're traveling by ship or not. Okay, player one? That is correct. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. Categories for the Double Jeopardy round are 1960s TV, photography, libraries, geology, synonyms, and it happened on April 2nd. All right, if you're ready, it's Double Jeopardy time. First aired on September 30th, 1963, Opie the Birdman has become a classic episode of this sitcom. Okay, player one?
Yeah!
Yes. Player one, you pick again, please. The never-used lyrics of its theme song were written by Gene Roddenberry. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah!
That's correct. Player 1, choose again. On The Addams Family, Ted Cassidy played not only Lurch, but this disembodied hand as well. Yes, Player 1? You got it. Player 1, choose again. On August 29th, 1967, he finally caught up with the one-armed man. Player 1? Right. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. In 1964, Mary Tyler Moore won her first Emmy as this new Rochelle housewife. Player 1? Right.
Yeah!
You again, Player 1. Men at Work is a 1932 book containing Lewis Hines' 1930 photos chronicling the construction of this skyscraper. Player 1? You are correct.
Woo!
Select again. It's the camera lens attachment that allows for a 180-degree wide-angle view. It's Player 1. You are correct. You get to pick again, Player 1. In 1907, two French brothers with this last name marketed their autochrome glass plates to produce color photos. It's Player 1. Good. You get to pick again, Player 1. Answer. The first of the two daily doubles. You are in first place. How much are you going to wager, Player 1? All right, here's your clue. From the Latin for to open, it's the camera part that controls the intensity of light striking the film. That's correct. Please pick again, Player 1. Her first photo essay appeared in Esquire in 1960. Much of her work thereafter depicted human oddities. Let's hear it, Player 1. That's correct. We return to you, Player 1. This country's national library, the Biblioteca Nacional José Martí, was financed by a tax on sugar. Yes, Player 1? That is correct. Player 1, back to you. The Hector Hodler Library in Rotterdam, which is devoted to this artificial language, has over 15,000 books. Yes, Player 1?
Yeah!
That's correct. You again, Player 1. When his presidential library was dedicated in 1991, 4 former presidents were in attendance. It's Player 1. Right. You get to pick again, Player 1. This Shakespeare library, named for this Standard Oil man, is run by Amherst College. Yes, Player 1?
Yeah!
That is correct. Player 1, pick again. The Radcliffe Camera, Britain's first round library, is the main reading room of this bigger library at Oxford. Yes, Player 1? You got it. Player 1, you pick again, please. The Mercalli scale measures the intensity of these from 1 to 12. Player 1? Correct. Please pick again, Player 1. Geysers aren't common. Major centers include Yellowstone, Iceland, and this country's North Island. Yes, Player 1? That's right. Way to go.
Woo!
You get to pick again, Player 1. This rock can be formed by the accumulation of shells or coral, but not from citrus fruit. Yes, Player 1? correct. You get to pick again, player one, and I'll hand it off to Kelly.
Made from minerals deposited by dripping water, these geological formations grow up from cavern floors.
Okay, player one. That is correct. Player one, back to you. A 6-mile-wide caldera or volcanic crater is a highlight of La Palma in this Spanish island group off Africa. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah.
You are correct. Player one, back to you for our next selection. As a noun, it's a synonym for flower. As a verb, it's to blossom or come into one's own. Okay, player one. Hey, you're right. Please pick again, player one. Synonyms for crowd include throng, flock, and this word that can also mean an infatuation. Okay, player one. You are correct. Select again. Answer.
Yeah.
The other Daily Double. You are currently in the lead. Player one, please select your wager. And the clue. In court, you won't hear a lawyer say remonstrance, but this synonym. Right. Select again. Back in the 19th century, ladies didn't faint, but did this 5-letter synonym. Okay, player one. That's correct. Player one, back to you. This synonym for to seclude is also a word for part of a monastery or convent. Yes, player one? Good. Player one, pick again. 1865. Jefferson Davis and most of his cabinet flee this capital city. Okay, player one. Yes.
Yeah. Woo.
Player one, you pick again, please. 1917. He asks the U.S. Congress for a declaration of war on Germany. It's player one. You got it. Player one, back to you. 1810. He marries Archduchess Marie-Louise of Austria. Yes, player one? Good. You again, player one. 1930. He is proclaimed the Emperor of Ethiopia. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah.
Right. And now the $2,000 clue. 1453, Mehmed II begins his siege of this city. It would fall 8 weeks later. Okay, player one.
Yeah.
Looks like you'll be moving on to Final Jeopardy after this commercial break. Here comes the Final Jeopardy, players. The category is this. Poets. What are you going to wager? Here's your Final Jeopardy clue. Fired from a job for laziness, he wrote, I lean and loaf at my ease, observing a spear of summer grass. And your response? With that correct response, you will gain. Player one, congratulations to you. Thanks for playing. We'll see you next time.